This is the Whole Hog Sports Podcast. This is part of the Whole Hog Radio Network. I'm the host, Chip Souza, and I've got a couple of big guests lined up for you today. Big time superstar guests, starting with Anthony Christensen, who's right here with us, and then we'll have Leland Barclay. Later in the show, we're going to talk about a little baseball and how it affects the Arkansas Razorbacks for next year. But we're going to start, of course, with my main man, Anthony. He covers the Arkansas men's basketball team for WholeHogSports.com. He made his first venture to Little Rock last night to cover John Calipari in the, I'm going to make sure I got this right, One Razorback Road Show.
Yes,
That's a lot of R's.
Yes.
That's a lot of R's in there.
Actually, my second trip to Little Rock in my life. First since I've moved here. First time I was in Little Rock, I believe I was a freshman in high school for a soccer tournament.
Oh, okay.
3 games, 3 wins.
Did you win? 3-0?
3-0.
Woo-hoo, went and dominated.
I mean, what can I say?
Hey.
I mean, we had a pretty good team.
Was Messi on your team?
He was not. He was not.
Okay.
He was actually not age eligible to play with us 14-year-olds.
I got you.
Unfortunately.
So this podcast is brought to you a couple of times a week, and you can find it where you find all of your podcasts, and we want you to go there and download this podcast every week, and it's also on YouTube, so we want to make sure that you follow us there. Smash that like button and subscribe to this, and you'll get this podcast and other podcasts as part of the Whole Hog Radio Network, like the Whole Hog Basketball Podcast, the Whole Hog Baseball Podcast, the Whole Hog Soccer Podcast, which we don't have, but maybe we should have, and Anthony would be good for that. So anything Whole Hog Sports, so we can do a podcast on it. But today we're going to kind of cover a lot of different things. But the first is with Anthony, and we're going to talk about Arkansas men's basketball. Anthony, how many players do they have now?
If I remember correctly, they're up to 7 scholarship guys on the roster with the transfers, Jonas Adu from Tennessee, John L. Davis from Florida Atlantic, Adu Thiero and Zvonimir Ivasic, both from Kentucky, and then the 3 freshmen, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond, and Boogie Fland.
Love that name.
So up to 7 scholarship players. They've still got, as far as we're all aware, Lawson Blake is a walk-on. And then they've had DJ Wagner, another transfer from Kentucky, took a visit this past weekend, and there's been no announcement on his commitment to this point. But so that's where the roster stands as things are.
Now, understand, last night no news was broken. It was kind of low keyed. He also did kind of give us a little bit of a red herring about former players' sons playing for him, which is a big deal, and Wagner's dad played for him.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. No, Billy Richmond's dad played for him. Adu Thiero's dad played for him, and obviously DJ Wagner's dad did as well. So, he did say, that's kind of the biggest compliment to him that he thinks he can get as a former player, having their son play for him. And then, as he said, and a direct quote, Billy Richmond's dad played for me. Not Carter Knox. Adu Thiero's dad played for me. Another guy's dad played for
Another
me.
guy.
And an audience member did shout
Another
out a question about DJ Wagner, and Cal immediately said, can't talk about recruiting.
Can't talk about it.
And then he started talking about the guys whose dads played for him, and then mentioned another guy.
Read between the free throw line and the 3-point line on that one, or whatever.
Yes,
between those lines, you can kind of pick up on that.
Can't talk about guys who haven't signed on yet.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. You can't do
that.
Now, he has also mentioned this before, and he mentioned it again last night, that he may only have 8 or 9 players. I mean, is that going to be 3 scholarships or whatever not used? Are you hanging on for free agents, or what are we doing here with that?
Yeah, so his whole thing with that has been basically he wants to have his set rotation of guys, and he doesn't want to have other guys who are on scholarship sitting on the bench and never really getting into the game, because he doesn't want to work with those guys, develop them, coach them, and everything along those lines to just see them transfer and go somewhere else. And in his words, he says, I'm not just going to be coaching the guys who are starting or the guys in the main rotation. I'm going to be coaching everybody. So his big thing is, why would I coach these guys when they're going to go and play for somebody else? Why am I going to put my time and effort into, developing them, making sure they're, good for, his system when they're going to go and transfer and play for somebody else. So that's kind of his justification on it. And then during his event last night, he did say, oh, well, what if 2-3 guys get injured? Then you're going to have 6 guys who are really happy with their playing time. Is what he said. So I mean, there's, and I've said there's obviously risks involved with building a roster like that, such as injuries or illnesses and so on and so forth that go with it. But obviously, you can see the rationale when he explains it like that as well.
Yeah, Coach Cal, I got a year or so of eligibility left. If you need somebody to come in and give you 5 hard fouls a game, I can do that, and I won't transfer.
I actually have 2 years of college sports eligibility.
Here it is, right here at this table. Your problem is solved right here at this table.
If you want a short guard who can't play defense and has the worst jump shot of all time, that's me.
And he's better than me. So there you go. All right. So any intel on the schedule? Now we know we've seen the not the dates, but we know who and where Arkansas is going to play. Their SEC schedule with Texas and Oklahoma now floated and worked into that schedule. We know they're going to play Texas home and home, LSU home and home, Missouri home and home next year. And then the next year after that, the schedule will kind of be tweaked a little bit. But if I read this right in your story, those 3 teams, they will rotate playing 2 of those teams every year home and home, and then a third team will kind of rotate in there around Florida, Mississippi State, whoever, that way. So we know that. We know that Texas is going to be coming to Bud Walton. I can't wait for that. That should be pretty hot. And then, of course, Arkansas will go down to Texas. And so any other intel on the schedule? I know he's talking about maybe beefing up the schedule a little bit, maybe. Or,
yeah, he did mention he's talked to ESPN, CBS, trying to get those kind of big national televised games, but didn't really go into a lot of detail as to who they would be against, where they would be, et cetera, et cetera. He wants to get those big national things taken care of before going and scheduling, say a home and home, or getting the bye games against mid and low major competition as well. And then there's the San Diego contract for the MTE there that, as far as I'm aware, is still in place. I know some people have floated around that Notre Dame's going to try to get into the NIL event in Vegas.
Okay.
But as far as I'm aware, that is still a thing in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that sticks around, or if Cal tries to get them in a higher profile event, or what he's kind of envisioning with that. But so far, I mean, other than that, there's not really anything fully scheduled. Obviously, Penny Hardaway talked a little bit about trying to get the Memphis Arkansas series back up. I asked Cal about it yesterday at the time of recording, and I mean that's when he said he wants to get the national stuff, kind of in place and taken care of first.
Yeah, I see that.
And then he said, he's got fond memories of Memphis, and we'll see.
Yeah.
So obviously, he spent a good portion of time there.
Something I don't know if they will continue. They have had this Big 12 SEC thing for the last few years. I wonder, is that they're going to do away with that, or
the Big 12 ACC or Big 12 SEC challenge is gone. That has been replaced by the SEC ACC challenge.
Okay.
That's why Duke was at Bud Walton last season. And then there's a lot of other games as well, obviously, with not the whole, because the ACC had too many teams.
Yeah.
Like Louisville was left out of the bid, and I think there was maybe 1 or 2 others. But yeah, so there's the SEC ACC challenge. So there's probably going to be, given Arkansas hosted Duke this last year.
Yeah.
I would imagine you're probably going to see a road game for that one, but I can't really say for sure. Because I mean we just don't have the schedule at this point.
Yeah, they're working on it. And of course we know Arkansas will make a trip to Lexington, which that should be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I fully intend on being there.
Yeah, that will be a lot of fun as Coach Cal takes his new team, the team in red, down to play Big Blue and that'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure there'll be very nice tennis claps for Coach Cal when he brings his team on the floor for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a nice reception pregame.
Sure.
I mean, when a guy is out of place for 15 years and had the success he did. I mean, regardless of how things finished, obviously, and it ended on a bit of a sour note.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're still talking about a guy who brought them to a bunch of Elite Eights, Final Fours, won a national title. So I mean, I'm sure it'll be a nice reception pregame, and then obviously the game is the game, and that's just the way sports works. But no, I mean that'll be that's probably the regular season game to watch in men's college basketball as things kind of stand at the moment. Obviously,
Absolutely.
there's going to be, I'm sure there'll be some big non-conference matchups that get scheduled. Between, I mean, last year there was UConn and Kansas was really big.
Yeah.
There's always games like that, but as far as we know, where the schedule is just kind of on a broad national scale. I mean, it's kind of hard to think about a bigger game than Cal's Arkansas going to Rupp Arena.
Absolutely. So if you want to know more about Arkansas men's basketball, Anthony is our guy at wholehogsports.com. He has got blanket coverage of Arkansas men's basketball there. If you're not a subscriber to wholehogsports.com, you need to be one. If you want to get the best in all Razorback sports coverage, it is at wholehogsports.com, and we have coverage of every sport that they play throughout the day. Wholehogsports.com. You can click on the subscribe button there and become a subscriber. And if you call yourself a Hog fan, you need to be a subscriber because that is where you can get way more content than anywhere else is right there, as well as these podcasts. So we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Leland Barclay. We're going to talk about some high school baseball action that's going on this weekend that will have an impact on the Arkansas baseball team next season with some big-time 2024 signees. So, Anthony, thanks for being on with us, and we'll certainly have you back again.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back with the Whole Hog Sports podcast.
Stay on top of all Arkansas Razorback sports with a Digital Plus subscription on the Hogs Illustrated app. Get complete Razorbacks coverage in one location. Your subscription gives you 20-plus issues of Hogs Illustrated magazine, the most unique and compelling coverage anywhere in the state, plus total access to all the content on wholehogsports.com, including breaking news, commentaries, analysis, features, recruiting, award-winning photos, and premium message boards. Subscriptions start at just $17 per month. Join the Hog Sports Network team at subscribe.waco.com. That's subscribe.wehco.com. Or call 479-684-5509 to get your front row seat to Arkansas Razorback sports. Go Hogs!
And you are back with the Whole Hog Sports podcast. I'm Chip Souza. This is the second segment of the podcast, and we are now joined by Leland Barclay of the River Valley Democrat-Gazette. Leland and I are going to talk about some high school baseball going on this weekend in Arkansas down in Conway with state championship games starting on Thursday. Now, there are several players that will be playing in these games that have either signed with Arkansas already or are committed in the 2025 class. And Leland has seen, if not all of these guys, he has seen most of them, and he has seen all of the four that we will mainly talk about today. So, Leland, how you doing?
Fantastic. Play ball.
Let's play. Hopefully the rain will hold out for that. Now, Conway will be hosting all, if you don't follow high school sports that much, Conway is hosting all of the spring sports state championship games and matches with soccer, girls and boys soccer, softball, and baseball this weekend at various venues around Conway. That starts Thursday around noon, and they'll play all the way through Saturday's final games. You can get a full schedule on that in the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, or you can go to the Arkansas Activities Association website and see that schedule of all the games. And we'll start with this is the marquee matchup in baseball, I think, is the Class 6A state championship game that will be played Friday at 1 o'clock. Springdale Harbor, the defending state champions in 6A, against Rogers, a team that won a state title a couple of years ago. And you can expect for Springdale Harbor to be on the bump Ross Felder, who has signed with Arkansas. And Leland, you have seen Ross. What's your assessment there, and how do you think this game will shape up?
Well, he faced Rogers the second conference game series of the season, and Rogers beat him. That's Felder's only loss this year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if we take this year's stats and look at this season by itself, we'd be saying that Ross Felder has had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
That's his only loss. He's thrown 57 and a third innings. He struck out 68, and he's got a 1.10 ERA, and he's 9-1.
That's pretty
Now,
good.
if we compare it to last year, we're saying, kind of like, wow, why has Ross Felder dropped off? But I think he's kind of a victim of his own success from last year.
Yeah, and he's kind of battled through. He's had a couple injuries here and there that have been kind of nagging, a little bit of nagging injuries throughout the season. But he's a tough kid, and he has battled through it, and he has pitched his team right back to the state championship game, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's 19-1 over the last two seasons. Like we said last year, just phenomenal. 109 strikeouts and 68 and 2/3 innings, 0.61 ERA.
Tiny.
Yeah. But this year he had a 7-inning no-hitter against Briarcrest with 14 Ks.
Yep.
And again, he's going to be the guy on the mound for Harbor
no doubt
on Saturday, and we'll see if he can avenge that one loss to Rogers from, that was almost 2 months ago. So
I tell you what, too, Leland, these two coaches in this game, too, the Harbor coach, Dustin Helmkamp, and over at Rogers, Matt Melson, these two guys, they do it the right way. Their teams are a reflection of these coaches, and they are just about as good as you can get in Arkansas baseball as far as coaches are concerned.
Absolutely. They are baseball guys through and through, and that's the highest compliment we can give, baseball, coaches and managers. They're baseball through and through.
Yep, they are. So that is the 6A state championship game. Again, that will be 1 o'clock on Friday down at Conway. If you want to see some really, really good baseball played the way it should be, you'll have I have seen Rogers play for a lot of years and coached by Matt Melson. They will play small ball. They will do all the little things. They're fundamentally as sound as Arkansas. I mean, they are fundamentally sound, and they coach, that's how they're coached. Harbor's the same way. They will lay down that sack bunt. They do adhere to the old school philosophy, Leland, of get on, get over, get in.
Oh, I think their perfect game plan is to draw a walk, sacrifice him to second, move him to third on a ground ball, and then, a base hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The way it's supposed to be played. So that's the 6A game. The 5A game is Valley View against Maumelle. That'll be 7 o'clock on Friday for the Class 5A state championship. Valley View, if there ever was a definition for the word loaded, Valley View would be that word, loaded. They are absolutely loaded with stud players.
Absolutely. Up and down the lineup, from behind the plate, up the middle, especially on the mound. They had as dominant a state tournament as I can remember, and certainly that I've seen. They won 3 games in 3 days, all by the run rule, 5 innings each one.
Wow.
And I kind of asked, their coach, Josh Allison, I said, would you kind of like to, maybe play a little more baseball than that? And he said, no, we'll take 5 innings.
Yeah, they'd be good with that. I'm good with that. So we don't know who will get the ball. I'm going to guess Lance Davis will get the ball. I don't know that for sure, but I would guess it will be Lance Davis. He is a 6'4", 205-pounder who has signed with Arkansas. Leland, do you think he'll get the ball, or will it be Eli Crasilius, another Arkansas signee?
Going back and looking at their season and stuff, they've kind of been, to borrow a horse racing term, they're kind of 1 and 1A and 1 and 1A.
Yeah.
Crasilius is the one that beat Fayetteville a couple of weeks ago.
Correct.
Up there. He went 6 innings, gave up 1 earned run, walked 1, and struck out 11. But it was Davis who kind of went, I think, 3 2/3 that beat Rogers.
Yeah.
The day before when they came up there and did their, little 2-game, trip through Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could go with either one of them in a state championship game. In that kind of situation, obviously the guy who doesn't start is going to be ready to come in out of the pen the
Yeah.
way the tournament and state championship games are set up. So my guess would be that Crachilius, from what I understand, he's kind of been the number one guy all year. So it may be him or Davis, and I'm sure it's going to come down to maybe two, the scouting report that Josh Allison has kind of come up with too.
Right. Both of them are right-handers. And you can be sure for Maumelle, Peyton Lee is going to get the ball Friday for them. He is a 2025 verbal guy to Arkansas. He's an outstanding pitcher himself. He will be on the bump for Maumelle, I would imagine. And so this game also, if you're just looking at it on paper, Valley View, I mean, they look about as formidable as any team I've ever maybe seen in Arkansas high school baseball. I mean, they are loaded, like you said, Leland, up and down the lineup, 1 through 9. They are loaded, but I'm sure Maumelle is not going to just walk over and hand the baseball to them and say, "Here, go ahead, the trophy's yours. We won't even play this." Maumelle's not going to do that. So there's, I expect it to be a good game. Leland, what do you think? Have you seen Peyton Lee pitch?
Yeah, he's very good too. I mean, he's going to keep Maumelle in the game, and Maumelle is also very good. So they're not going to, like you said, they're not going to just hand them the trophy before the game starts. Going back, Davis, he averages almost 2 strikeouts an inning. Crachilius is about 1.5. So it's going to be, I think, a matter of maybe who's the most patient and maybe who can get into the other one's pen.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I don't know if that matters.
Yeah,
getting into Valley View's pen or not.
Exactly. When you're Maumelle and you're like, "Oh, great, we got the starter out now." Oh no, it's the other guy. So Maumelle's going to have their hands full. But you know what? Hey, it's a one-game winner-take-all thing. Weird things happen. Balls bounce a certain funny way. You never know. And the longer that this game goes on, and the longer that Maumelle hangs in it, the better their chances get to take down who everybody perceives as Goliath in Arkansas baseball for sure.
Well, absolutely, because we don't see baseball as a one-game type championship sport. Baseball is a series.
Yeah, should be. Yes.
And so, like you said, in a one-game series, especially if somebody comes out, and I don't see either one of these teams coming out with jitters. Valley View's been so good all season long, and teams that go through a state tournament, they've already kind of went through that. So I don't see that being an issue, but I think it'll be an outstanding game.
Will be, no doubt about it. And then one other player we want to mention, too, as part of this 2024 class. Leland, you've seen him pitch a couple of times. Carson Wiggins out of Roland, Oklahoma. This kid's 6'5", 210. When he steps off the bus, all eyes go on him because he does look good in that uniform.
Well, all eyes, including all of the major league scouts that show up in town to watch him as well.
Yeah.
His first game of the season, there were 28 scouts at his game, standing behind home plate with radar guns and taking notes. And there were scouts at every single one of his games. And he kind of got on everybody's radar. Over the summer, he went to a showcase in Atlanta and hit 99.
There you go.
He went to another showcase in Seattle and threw 4 of the 5 fastest pitches thrown that day. And he hasn't let up since.
One
of the games I went to, he hit 95 in the first inning. The very last pitch that he threw in the 6th inning of that game, he was at 94.
Whoa.
He's effortless, and his stats are just mind-boggling. 94 strikeouts in 36 innings pitched. Now, if you do the math,
that's almost 3 up, 3 down every single inning.
That doesn't leave very much. He gave up 9 hits in 7 starts with 94 strikeouts with a 0.97 ERA. He had 2 games where he went 6 innings and struck out 17. Again, do the math on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Also want to mention in that Harbor State Championship game, Luke Cornelison of Harbor is also verbally committed to Arkansas, so that'll be another Arkansas signing. The 2025 class, I had a chance to look at it today. That it's you can find that where that class is at Perfect Game on their website. It is very Arkansas loaded, and I don't know, what other spots they're going to recruit to, because there's about 20 commitments on that list, and of that 20. It looked like maybe 16, 17 of them were Arkansas kids. So Coach Dave Van Horn, not only with a national elite program, but he's doing it with a lot of our own homegrown Arkansas kids.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you have not been out to watch high school baseball in this state,
You're
man,
missing
you
out.
are missing an absolute just a great chance to see some great players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all across the board. It doesn't matter what classification. There are some outstanding players.
Well, and a couple, that are just right down the road from where we are over in Fayetteville, Landon Schaefer and Jason Delamar. These are two incredible baseball players. Fayetteville made a big run this year, led by those two young men, and they will be big time additions to the Arkansas. Delamar is an outfielder, and he's one of those old school kids that if the ball is in the air, I'll put it this way: when a ball hits the grass in the Fayetteville outfield, it is a surprise.
Oh, absolutely. He can absolutely go get it in the outfield. And to borrow a phrase from, I think it was Field of Dreams, his glove is where triples go to die.
To die, yes. Yeah. I mean, this kid covers, like you said. Of course, he's an all-state receiver for the state champion football team in Fayetteville. So he definitely knows how to go get the ball, and he goes and gets the baseball just like he goes and gets the football, and a lot of speed. Very, very well-built, compact, strong kid.
Absolutely. And I saw Schaefer pitch twice this year, and he was phenomenal.
Smooth,
both outings
man.
that I saw.
So smooth. I mean, his mechanics are great. Looks like throwing effortlessly, up there. And so Hogs are getting two good ones there. Also want to mention that we already mentioned Luke Cornelison, McLean Moody down at Fort Smith Northside. Leland, you've had a chance to see him, but he did not get up on the hill this year. He did not pitch this year. But he was I guess maybe they use him as a DH or first baseman or something like that.
He pitched 2 innings the very first game of the year, and he had a little inflammation, a little problem in his back. So they put him on the shelf the rest of the season.
Gotcha.
He's also a quarterback for the Northside football team, and he will take spring practice off. He won't go through spring drills with the football team either. Even though he's been cleared, it's really just as a precaution because, he is a big-time athlete. So they're going to give him some time off. But I think we'll see him back soon, and it'll be nice to see him at quarterback and on the mound for his senior season.
Absolutely. Well, Leland Barclay covers prep sports for the River Valley Democrat Gazette and for the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and has for a few years. If you don't read Leland, you should, and you can be a subscriber to the River Valley Democrat Gazette or the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Just go to those websites for those two newspapers, and Leland is writing like 6, 7, 8 stories a week for the River Valley Democrat Gazette and growing our brand down there, and also, of course, a major contributor to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. So if it's about prep sports, Leland Barclay is the man. He is the guru of prep sports in this state, and we are lucky to have him on our team for sure. So we're going to take a break right here, and when we come back, we will come to our final segment of the podcast, and that is the question of the day. That's a staple of this podcast and one that's gaining in popularity. So once again, let me thank you, Leland, for being on with me, and we will have you back on again for sure.
It's my pleasure. Anytime I can come on and talk, baseball, I'm willing.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with the Whole Hog Sports Podcast.
Get the latest breaking news on all Arkansas Razorback sports at WholeHogSports.com. Our award-winning reporters and photographers go beyond game recaps to bring our subscribers the most trusted Razorbacks news anywhere. With expert analysis, the latest in recruiting, plus unique and compelling stories of your favorite teams. Subscribe today at WholeHogSports.com.
And we're back again. This is the Whole Hog Sports Podcast. I'm Chip Souza, and we have already had two outstanding guests on today in our own Anthony Christensen, the Arkansas men's basketball beat reporter for WholeHogSports.com, and, of course, the incomparable Leland Barclay, bringing us the best knowledge of high school baseball, state championship games going on this weekend in Conway that will feature a lot of Arkansas Razorbacks signees and verbal commits. This final segment is a staple of this podcast. It is the question of the day, in which we engage readers of the WholeHogSports.com message board. We ask a question, and we get some fantastic responses, and these responses are there. We're getting more and more responses on this, and that is great because we love the way that it engages our subscribers. Now, the only way to participate in this question of the day is to be a subscriber to WholeHogSports.com. So if you are not a subscriber, you need to run to that laptop right now, jump on WholeHogSports.com, and be a subscriber, and that way you can be part of this podcast with the question of the day segment. So our question of the day today is, the Arkansas Razorback baseball team is headed to College Station for a huge season-ending series with the Texas A&M Aggies. The SEC West is at stake, and the overall SEC regular season championship is also still in play. So 3 big games starting Thursday. Now, these games are all going to be televised this week. And so if you want to know what those times are and that kind of thing, go to WholeHogSports.com. And our Matt Jones, that covers Arkansas Razorback baseball, who is headed to College Station for that big series, he will have all of that information for you throughout the weekend, so be sure and go there. So our question is, how will the Razorbacks fare this weekend against Texas A&M down in College Station? Will they sweep? Will they win the series, or will they lose the series? Now, we got a variety of answers here. We're going to start with Jimbo77, who was succinct and to the point and said, we will win the series. Well, Jimbo, I'm right with you on that one, okay? I'm hoping that's the way it turns out, too, and that's what Jimbo believes. Hogs 0720 says, we will win Thursday's game and lose the next 2, so we'll lose the series. Boo, Hogs 0720. Boo, we don't want to do that. LD also echoing Big Jimbo by saying Hogs will sweep. Votan, I'm expecting to go 1-2 and just win the West. I would love to be wrong and win more, but I think regardless of what happens at Texas A&M, we are set for one of the top 8 national seeds, and that's what the main goal should be for the better road to Omaha. Not bad. It would not be a bad scenario right there. Mark M. says, shaking up the pitching for Game 2 and 3 with the struggles, I say we'll win the series, if not sweep it. Keep those bats hot as well. You know, those bats were hot on Sunday against Mississippi State when they came from 6-0 down to win 9-6. So they're going into this Texas A&M series swinging the bats pretty well. Northeast, Arky says, I think we'll win 1 game, but likely lose the series. It's tough to beat a good team at their place. I'd feel better about winning the series if we had 3 starting pitchers on top of their game, but Tigert and Molina have struggled lately. We'd probably need to sweep the series to win or tie for the overall SEC championship. UK, which is Kentucky, isn't going to lose its series at home to Vanderbilt. Certainly not going to get swept in that series, he says. Tennessee isn't going to lose its series at home to South Carolina, and certainly not going to get swept. So I think the most realistic best case for us is to win the West by beating Texas A&M at least 1 game and maybe tie Tennessee for 2nd overall by winning 2 of the 3 against the Aggies. The Wizard of Hogs says, and I love that name, the Wizard of Hogs, man. I like that. That's a great handle. There will be no sweep either way. The Hogs probably will win 1, maybe 2, as the Aggies have been slumping recently. Arkansas fans have been so obsessed with their own issues, hitting, then starting pitching, that they may not have noticed this. On the other hand, the only team in the SEC to have a better home record than Arkansas is Texas A&M. HogFan1 says, win the first one with Hagan, and I could see us losing the next 2. I wouldn't be opposed to starting Wood for one of the other games if we win the first one to see what he can do, but may not be the best environment for him to do this, okay? All right. And then Bombastic Hog, who I always love to see how his response is on our Whole Hog message board, because he's kind of like me. He's got a little nastiness to him, and I like that. Bombastic Hog says, hey, Chip, you really don't need to yell at us to get responses. I'm guessing I used all capital letters in my question. So I'm sorry about that. See, I can yell. And Danny has the last word of the day. He says it's hard to bet against these Hogs, even with our number 2 and number 3 starters pitching weekly, as in WEAKLY, okay, weekly. The past few weeks, the Hogs keep winning games. I say the Hogs win 2 of 3 somehow getting it done. Yes, sir, Danny, I'm right there with you on that. Let's go, Hogs. Let's go down to A&M and slap those Aggies around a little bit. So that will wrap it up for today's podcast. We thank you for being on with us, as always, on the Whole Hog Sports Podcast. And don't forget, you can catch all of our other network of podcasts on the Whole Hog Radio Network, including our Whole Hog Baseball Podcast with Matt Jones and Bubba Carpenter, and they bring you all of the knowledge of Arkansas baseball, and you do not want to miss that. And you can get those podcasts on our website at wholehogsports.com. Thanks for being on with us on the Whole Hog Podcast, Sports Podcast, and we'll be back with you next week. Go Hogs.